family room, which was just adjacent to the big lounge room where the piano was. And she would sit there, and I think she knitted or did something. And I was as stubborn as a mule. I would not play the exercise. I would just sit at the piano on the seat. And she'd say, now come on, Susie. She used to tell me, "Allons, Susie, do your exercise." Nothing doing. I just sat there until 3 times she told me. The 3rd time she got up. And as soon as she got up, I would run into the dining room, the other side of the house. And we had a big square table. And she'd go in the hall and grab the cane. And she'd come and try to hit me, and she was hitting the table because it was safe under there. She couldn't reach me. But once or twice she got me, and she made me welts on my legs. She did. You know, look today.
Yeah, so your most endearing recollection.
It's
the high heel on the head, the welt on the legs. Yeah, that's great.
Now I remember another time when I was about 13 or 14. I was developed then, grown up, and she decided to go to the city. And she put a turban on her head. She put a turban on her head. She looked nice. And she had another scarf, and she put a turban on mine. We looked like 2 sisters, a bigger and a smaller sister. And we both went to town in the tram with a turban on our heads. It looked really very nice, I reckon. I remember that time with a turban. But anyway, there was a lot of good times with my mother. But she was hard on me. She used to smack me. You could in those days smack. Belt me. Oh, she used to chase me when I had boils on my feet. And I'm saying too much, am I? She used to chase me around the house with a gillette to lance my boil. And I was frightened. I didn't want her to do that to me. I was hurt. I would run around the house, and she would chase me and finally get me. And she would lance my boil to get the pass out. It was a bad season that year. Lots of kids had boils from the beach. Because the Arab women, the Arab population, or some of them, used to come from Cairo to Alexandria to cool themselves at the beach. And the sand was, they had boils when they came. And they left the crust and the germs on the sand. And us kids, we didn't know, we played. And we got we got these boils. I had quite a few on my feet.
But you were very close to your mum. You were close to your mum in the later years.
You were very close to your mum.
Yes.
Kathy says.
I was very good.
So what's your most endearing recollection? Is it her authority over you? That sounds like.
Well, I don't know.
Saying.
I was used to it. We were so close. Hello. Because we were left just the 2 of us during the war. My father wasn't there. And we grew very close. We were both girls. She was on her own, and she loved me very much. Oh, she did.
Speaking of her authority, I remember when we had a business meeting at the temple, and the chairman was on the platform, and the grandma said, "Brother Chairman, may I speak?" She won't see me. And his reply was, "Dare he say no?" That illustrated her authority.
David's saying that Grandma spoke at a business meeting at the temple. She asked the chairman to speak as a woman whether she could say what she wanted to say.
Yes, I think I could.
The channel was Jim Kay.
Yeah, that's right. But she used to correct people who were speaking on the platform, like a Bible class or something, and she'd say, "Excuse me, brother," and she'd tell him what was right.
And she didn't like being called Sister Cleary. They used to get her name wrong. It was Cleary. No, she wasn't Sister Cleary.
No, she wasn't.
It was enough to have her name
I remember
shortened to Cleary, but Cleary was a line too far.
Yeah, I remember I can't remember the name of the person, but I have the sound in my ear, Sister Cleary. But I can't remember remember the
She was
voice of
amazing.
that person. I think it sounded like Jack Mansfield's daughter, Judy. What's her name?
Judy.
Judy. I can remember her saying Sister Cleary. Yeah.
What about your memories of your father?
Pardon?
What
Of
about
my
your father?
father. Well, of my father, I remember when he came from holiday from the army, once or two or three times a year.
On
He
leave.
used to go on leave. He used to go and shave in the bathroom. He had the Gillette with the, he had the brush with the soap on his face. And the Gillette he used to shave. And I used to stand there by the hand basin and watch him. And I remember also he used to leave change of money on his little dressing bedside table. And I used to like to go and count the money that he had on his bedside table.
She heard the dog. She said, "Oof, oof."
But well, I didn't have so many good memories of my father. He used to fight quite a lot, my mother and father, and especially through the religion too. So we had not very good relationship like that.
Okay. What about your most endearing memory of Philip?
To Philip Pike, yes. Well, Philip was always clowning. He was clowning to attract attention. I don't know why he used to do it. He used to. Maybe because he was the oldest and the other two kids came after him. They were maybe more sport, maybe. But Philip was very much loved by my parents because he was a boy to start with, because they didn't have a boy, and he was the first grandchild, and they loved Philip very much. And they were too possessive. I was feeling that they were trying to get half of him at any rate. So when I had Kathleen and Peter, I used to keep them more for me. They were my kids. And my mother used to say, but why don't you let us get closer to those two other kids? Well, because I didn't want her to grab them. They were my kids, I loved them all. But these two were my kids too, and I didn't want her to grab like she was doing with Philip. But it did good for them too, because it helped them to have something to look forward to, have Philip come to stay with them, or if we went on holiday, sometimes we used to leave Philip with my parents so that they can have him on their own.
Philip didn't have his own dad. I mean, Wally was so loving with him too.
Yes.
Perhaps
Yes. Yeah, well, that's right. Yes.
Your parents tried to substitute.
Pardon?
Your parents tried to substitute
Yes, that's right. Yes,
a parental
they felt sorry
authority.
for him. They felt sorry for him because he didn't have his own way.
Yeah.
So anyway, for me as a mother, I loved all my kids the same as a mother. But maybe with Dad, it was a little bit different, maybe because Philip wasn't his own flesh and blood.
What's your main recollection of Egypt?
Each of my girls.
Is it happy recollection or is it a...
Happy, no, it was happy. It was happy, especially when I went to school. My school years in Egypt were fantastic. My school was a beautiful school. Everyone who went to the school always loved the school. English college. I love the school.
That was a girls' school, wasn't it?
It was a girls, only girls.
You met Marianne in Sydney a fortnight ago. You seemed very comfortable talking to her about
Yes,
very specific things that were happening at school. You even remembered the teachers' names. And
yes, I remember everything. Lots of things. Lots of things. But we had place. We had so many people and soldiers in Alexandria. Alexandria maybe more so than Cairo, because Alexandria was a seaport, and there was warships in the harbor, and we get more air raids and more bombs. And yes, we had several air raids. Sometimes in the night we had 2 or 3 times we had to get out of bed. The sooner we get into bed, and again the siren would sound, and we'd have to get up again and go down to the shelter. So some nights it was bad. Everybody was half asleep the next day because no sleep. But it was, for me as a child, I didn't know the streets, that everything was black. No lights in the street, it was black out. You weren't allowed to have any light shining in the streets. And if there was a fissure anywhere, the air raid wardens would patrol the roads, the streets. They'd come to your house and say, there's a light shining, do something about it, or else you get in trouble. So everybody had dark blue paper or black paper on our shutters, because we have different sort of windows from here. We had wooden shutters, like slats. They had slats, and you had to cover that so that no light. It was quite different.
And were you happy that your parents chose to come to Australia and not some other country?
Well, I didn't know. Yes, we were living in Alexandria, and
Swap.
well, now that I think of it, it's a bit late now. Now that I think of it, maybe we should have gone to Canada. It's closer to Europe and other places. I find Australia far away, and especially here in Adelaide, there's nobody from my school here. They settled some people in Sydney, like Marianne and a few others. But maybe Canada is also a peaceful country, but it's very cold. It's snowing in Canada. That's why my parents chose to come here. It's warmer.
What about the boat trip out? What do you remember about the boat trip?
Oh, that was lovely. We had on the boat, we came with the P&O Strathmore, and my mother and I had a cabin, and my father had his own cabin.
Oh,
yes, my mother and I, we shared the cabin, because I was a girl there, and I had to be protected.
But you weren't with your first husband, were you?
Eh?
Were you with your first husband?
No, I married here.
Yeah, but he didn't come at the same
he was
time?
here already.
No, I see.
He was here already. He came on his own first.
Was he Greek?
Yeah, he was Greek, but he didn't look Greek at all. He was blonde with blue eyes, like Stuart's eyes, really blue.
And how much older than
He
you
was
was
5
he?
years older than me.
You were very young, weren't you?
I was young. I was 17, 18 when I met him at a party, a girls' schoolgirls party. But he was funny. He was like Philip. He was a bit of a clown. He made everybody laugh. He was funny. He was strong. He did same build like Philip, not like Stuart. Big, strong shoulders. He used to play polo, swim. He was strong.
Water polo.
Water polo.
And was his family acceptable to your parents, were they?
Not with my father. My father objected because he wanted me to marry an Englishman, not a Greek. But the family, his family, my first husband's family, his father had a sawmill, he had a business of his own. And so my first husband worked in his father's sawmill, but being the son of the boss, he half worked. He worked a bit and he went out. He wasn't really serious with his job.
Oh yes, she knows.
He wanted to drink. He wanted to drink, my mom.
I'm not telling a story, it's fine.
He's ready for it. Yeah, so anyway,
Did you come to, I know sort of the answer to this, you came to Adelaide first, or Melbourne, or?
No, Adelaide, straight to Adelaide.
And why did you come here?
He came here.
Why did you come here?
Well, I don't know why, because I think they met, I think it's through him that, I don't know how he found out, these two Australian couples, and Australian people here, and they sort of guaranteed him to come here.
Did you have a house planned by, didn't you have a house in Vella-Clary?
Yeah, well, yeah, my parents got this builder to build a house in Vella-Clary for us.
Yes.
And they built this little wooden house in Gloucester Avenue. We went and saw it, Peter, didn't
Yeah.
we?
It's still there,
No,
is
It's
it?
still there.
It's still
Yeah,
there.
it is.
Still there.
It's an old dilapidated place, isn't it?
It's like an outhouse now.
One of my staff lives in 50 Gloucester Avenue.
Yeah,
Vella.
is that right?
People
But
like-
it's off the road quite a lot. It's not easy to find it,
No.
wasn't it?
Mm.
So anyway, this Mr. MacDonald, the builder, he was building houses in the Bel-Air area in that time, and he built this wooden bungalow. I mean, all the gum trees and the trees back in 1950. So it was a bush country really. There was no shops or hardly anything. And when my parents went to see that house, they nearly died. They said, "We're not going to live here." I mean, we were city people with buildings and trams and shops.
Yeah.
And they saw that and they said, "No way, we'll
Too
do live here."
isolated.
So they told Mr. MacDonald to sell it, and they got some money back, I suppose. And then we went to live at North Adelaide when we came to Australia, in a guest house, St. Quentin in St. Bernard Street, where it was owned by Marge and Tom, I forget the surname now, English couple. She was the boss. She was really very bossy woman, Marge.
We're all used to that around here, so
And they had this magpie in the garden that used to take me. So anyhow, that's where we lived, and then I married him eventually in June. After 3 months I was here, I got married. And
did you have your own house, or
we have our own house.
did you live out in
No.
the back?
I got married, and my first night of my marriage, I was in my mother's house. We didn't even go for a honeymoon. So it was in Toronto Street where they lived. They bought this house in Toronto Street, which was
Not that loud. Not that loud.
Ovingham.
Top of the hill. Right,
Oh,
top of the hill.
I know.
Ovingham. Yeah, and we stayed there, and then my mother she bought some blocks of land at Marino, and she sold them and gave me the money to start the foundations for my house in Renan Park where we lived. So she advanced me that money. She gave it to me. She didn't want it back. It was a present from her.
And that was the home you lived in with Dad plus Maloka's house.
Yes.
Mm.
That one.
But so you, with your first husband, you lived in Ovingham with your parents
Yeah, I lived with them.
until that house was built.
No, we didn't. No, because my father and my husband wouldn't get on. My father was jealous. He wanted to be served first. He wanted to have the biggest plate. And my mother was the cook, so he was the head of the house, my father. So he had to have priority. And well, they had arguments with my husband. So we went and we hired a granny flat in Croydon. At the back of a Greek family's house, they had a granny flat, 2 big rooms, and that's where my husband and I, and little Philip, I had little Philip there, baby. We had him there. That's where we lived for a while until my house at Renan Park was built.
So you gave birth to Philip while you were still living at Toronto Street with your parents, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And another
I
child.
did, that's right.
And you
Yes, I had the first
you had
baby.
the first child.
First baby that was still born.
And what was the name of that child?
I was calling Jeffrey.
Mm.
Jeffrey.
Did you see him?
Was he
Did you
first?
see him? Did you see him? Or wait,
No, I wasn't allowed to see him. My mother did. She saw him, but I didn't. And I never, up to this day, I don't know what they done with him. I don't know.
In those days, at the Royal, at the West Terrace Cemetery, there's a place where they put them all.
Yeah. I think I heard that they put him in with somebody else because he was a fetus.
But he was full term, wasn't
He
he?
was full term, yes. Yeah, he was full term. Then all of a sudden, there was no more movements in me. I couldn't feel it anymore. So anyway, I think I was induced and I had this baby. It was born dead. It had the cord around its neck. It must have turned and got strangled. My mother said it was a beautifully formed baby, except his lips were purple because he suffocated. So anyway, I never saw the baby. And then I had.
How did your husband react to that?
Oh, I can't remember really. Well, we were both upset, I suppose.
Try again.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Philip was born in 1953.
Must have been a good thing in those days to have a male. It was a matter of pride to have a male, to have a son, wasn't it?
Oh yes, yes. The Greeks are great believers in the boy. You know, the boy is the one who's going to continue the family name, and the boy is really. Although they can't do without a woman, the woman does all the work and everything, but the boy has priority. They love boys, and it's the culture.
Did you talk in English to your husband or Greek?
No, not in English. No, Greek. Greek.
Is he not still alive? Is he still alive?
Pardon?
Is your first husband
No.
still alive?
Oh no, he died.
Not that long ago.
Only about
Philip saw
7 years
him.
ago.
Philip saw
Yeah,
him
Philip
down
saw
in
him.
Queensland.
8 years ago.
Philip went to Melbourne and he met his
Brisbane.
two
Brisbane.
brothers to
Brisbane, Mum.
Brisbane.
Brisbane.
I've met them once as well.
Did you? Yeah, they got the same round face like Philip had.
No, one has,
One has.
the other one hasn't.
No.
The other one's more like, what's her name? Maria.
Normal.
Maria?
Maria.
Yeah.
Like
Maria.
Maria?
Maria.
Because she was in Greece when I went over there.
She was where?
She went to
to
Greece.
Did she?
She
And
was
you saw Nobby, didn't you? Norbert.
No,
was his
I
name.
didn't.
You
He
didn't?
died
He died.
6 to 12 months before I got there, so.
I don't think when Philip saw him, he was that well.
No, he didn't
No,
recognize him.
No, he's
He
lost.
recognized him. Well, he hadn't seen him. My first husband never gave a sign or a cent for Philip. Never, ever wrote or telephoned or inquired about his son. He didn't. So he wouldn't have known Philip at all. From the time that I divorced him, he didn't know your father at all. Never ever give a sign or nothing, a present or nothing on his birthday. Nothing.
But do you think that was good? Because
No, I don't. I mean, he was the father. He could at least ring up, say once a year when his child's birthday, to see how the boy was, you know.
how do you think Dad would have reacted to that? If that had happened?
Well, that didn't care. I mean, Philip was our son. Now he was our son. So
But to some extent, that reflected the norms of the day, didn't it? That was often the way it was in those sorts of situations.
well,
There was no Justice Murphy laws of divorce like we have these days, all those sorts of things, you know. Ties were cut, ties were cut.
I reckon it's your right book.
She ought to write a book.
I said to her.
Yeah, it's quite a story. So when you married Dad, Mum, did Dad want children quickly, or did you want children quickly, or did you just have children as they came?
no, I wanted to have more than one child. I said I wouldn't ever have an only child because I knew how lonely life was to be a lonely child. And I said I'm not going to have just one child.
Taste
There are at
nice?
least 2 or 3. So, when we had our children, we had Kathleen, when Kathleen was born, the Andersons sent me a beautiful big arrangement of flowers in the hospital. But when you were born, they sent me nothing. They sent me nothing. And you were the boy too.
Well, it was the first.
They thought, Australians think a lot of girls, I think. They're little girls. But the boy doesn't mean that much like it does.
I think it's like it's the firstborn, not
Maybe the firstborn.
It's not so much boys or girls. It's more firstborn.
Kathleen was their first grandchild.
Yeah.
So it was a big thing.
And how did you get on with your mother-in-law?
Well, I was a bit jealous of her because Dad was so close to his mother. Dad was very close to Manson, and he did everything he could to be of assistance and help her. And because Dad wasn't so warm with me, like his nature wasn't to be so warm with me, I resented him loving or liking anyone else more than me. So I sort of resented the fact that he thought so much of his mother, although he looked after me too. But I sort of was a bit jealous. I got on better with her when Dad passed away than when he was alive.
But
Yeah.
she lost her husband
I know.
very early in your
I
marriage.
know. I wasn't reasonable in
So-
those days. I thought differently.
Yeah.
Now I'm in the same position like she was, without a husband, and I appreciate my son or my daughter spoiling me. So, you see, I was unreasonable because I was young and I didn't think the same in those days. But now that I am a widow, I appreciate Peter looking after me or Kathleen looking after me. It's wonderful, as long as their partners or husbands don't resent it. But that's what happens.
But
You
you
want
must
your
have,
husband to be yours. You want to be the number one, don't you?
but you must have had, it must have been quite a shock when Grandpa Anderson died. So at a young
Grandpa
age.
George.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it was. It was sudden. It was sudden. Yeah, Dad he died in Port Augusta. Dad had to go all the way to Port Augusta straight away. As soon as he heard, the next day, I don't know what time it was he heard, but he went straight away to Port Augusta.
How did he die?
Pardon?
How did he die?
Heart. He had
Same thing as Grandpa?
heart.
Yeah.
And how did your parents get on with
with the Andersons.
with the Anderson side of the family? It's,
Cultural exchange.
seems like chalk and cheese.
Oh, I think Graham Anderson used to call. She didn't call my mother Queenie. She called her Mrs. Clary.
Yes, she did always call it
Yeah.
Mrs. Clary.
Clary.
But my mother called Wally's mum Jean. She was superior, you see. Yeah, my mother wouldn't call her Mrs. Anderson. She'd call her Jean.
What about George talking to Poppy?
Yeah,
How you going, mate?
I can't.
Did your parents ever go to Narrabeen?
Yes, they went once.
What did they think of it?
Once, and they went not to the Andersons' house. They went to Grandma Diane's house because she had the proper toilet. She had a proper toilet with a chain, you know. Whereas the Andersons had a little house out the back there.
And a bag of bucket of dishes
With
or something.
newspapers and stuff.
And they went to the shack once, and there's a photo of them up at the shack there.
Yes,
Where they saw it on the roadside. It said soft edges, and Poppy thought it said soft eggs. You couldn't
Eggs.
see
Soft
Yeah.
eggs. Soft
He
eggs.
drove his Austin all the way to
Yeah,
the
they had
shack.
one.
In second gear.
In second gear, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, you can always, like, when every Saturday he'd come and see us kids, and he'd go shopping, and he'd come to our place and bring us lollies and chips and all kinds of things every Saturday, when he left, you could hear him going up Torrens Road.
Yeah.
Going up past the railway line, still going in the first gear. Oh yeah, it's changed down now.
But you, Mum, you, when you,
He used to buy sometimes those frog cakes.
Yes.
Remember?
About
The froggy ones.
I remember them.
Yeah.
And biscuits.
They're expensive now.
Well,
They're
they
like
are.
$5 a pop.
Yeah, they're expensive, aren't they?
I think you used to buy them for us too, didn't you? Or was it Mum used to buy us little frog cakes? Someone did.
but your, Mum, your,
Remember that?
you got to know your mother-in-law quite well because she came and lived with you after her husband
Yes.
died.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
She and Jeanette both came when Grandpa died, yes. And I
Grandpa
thought-
Anderson died.
Yeah, and Grandpa Anderson died. And the day when she moved some of her furniture in our garage, I thought the world was coming to an end for me. Because I said, my God, who knows how long I'm going to have her in my house. But I have to be nice and polite and civil with my mother-in-law because my husband would be crap. Anyway, Graham Anson found a job and Jeanette went to school at the Croydon Tech. And
Which job did Grandma have?
she worked, I think she worked
Grocery
first
shop.
at the grocery shop at Ovingham Station there. Mr. Tate, the grocer. At the
She was a 60-year-old lady, wasn't she, to go out to
Yes.
work because her husband
Yes,
died.
yes, she went to work, that's
And
right.
she was forced to work.
And then she found another job at Prospect, on the Prospect Road in a bakery. And she used to bring us buns and cakes sometimes at when it's over. She used to bring us those things at home.
And who found her the house in Prospect, in William Street?
Oh, I don't remember, I think, well, of course, Dad supervised everything she did.
But the Dyers were
I
there
think
too.
Dad advanced her some money. He guaranteed her. I think that's what he did. He guaranteed her.
Because he guaranteed her for the house at Campbelltown.
Yeah, well, he guaranteed her something, yes.
But the Grandma Dyer and her husband came down
Yeah, they came
to Adelaide at that time.